Hello and welcome to my presentation on unlocking the power of food for a sustainable and healthy food system. First, we need to acknowledge that human health and planetary health are inextricably linked. A sustainable food system needs to support human health for a growing world population and tackling all forms of malnutrition. At the same time, the food system is facing significant environmental challenges. And one of the biggest threats that society is facing today is climate change. The global food production represents approximately 1/4 of the greenhouse gas emissions, and increasing meat consumption contributes to the steady increase in these greenhouse gases. This brings food security of food supply into question. And what's more, meat-rich diets are known and associated with non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular diseases, cancers, etc. So an increasingly uneven distribution also of the global income and the lower harvest volumes due to the climate change are driving the need for highly affordable nutrition in many parts of the world. And this situation is unfortunately aggravated through the current COVID-19 pandemic. Addressing sustainable healthy diets require a common understanding and definition. In this slide, I am presenting you the definition that the FAO and the WHO have given, and they have summarized that along with guiding principles in that recently published document. The aims of sustainable healthy diets are to achieve optimal growth and development of all individuals and support functioning and physical, mental, and social well-being at all life stages for present and also future generations. Contribute to preventing all forms of malnutrition, reduce the risk of diet-related non-communicable diseases, and support the prevention of biodiversity and planetary health. Sustainable healthy diets must combine all the dimensions of sustainability to avoid unintended consequences. These are the principles that the FAO and WHO have provided, and they actually provide a fantastic and strong framework for action for both the public sector and also the private sector. Now, if we look in reality, we can see that actually, as shown in recent studies as this one from Clark and co-workers in 2019, we see that the nutrients and food groups that have a low environmental impact, which is the right side of this spider web, and the closer to the inner circle, the lower the impact. And they also have a low impact on diseases, such as the non-communicable diseases. So that means what is good for people is also good for the planet. And here we see, for example, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, pulses. They have a quite low environmental footprint and they have a low risk for disease. Yet, if we look at the consumption data, as shown here in this slide, we basically fall short on almost all of these nutrients that are good for health and with a low environmental impact. Looking at this slide here, this is data from 2017 global intake data from around 195 countries. And if you look at the green solid line, this is the optimal intake, and the dotted green line on the left-hand side is the actual intake from the data from 2017. So you can see there are substantial gaps. There is almost no country in the world that meets the optimal intake for whole grain at a population level. So there is quite some action needed. And we need to really significantly speed up our actions to meet the goals for nutrition and environment in the context also of the Sustainable Development Goals. So if we look now consequently the balancing dietary patterns toward the recommended intakes for both plant-based foods such as fruits, vegetables, legumes, nuts, they present major opportunities also for reducing the environmental footprint while they generate significant benefit for human health. We have just seen that. And the opportunities which are represented are several-fold. So one is really to work on the products that are more plant-based and in line with local and cultural eating habits. We need to meet the local habits to make sure that people truly also adapt to these changes in their diet. Secondly, we have to look into ingredients that come with a lower carbon footprint and eventually also provide products that in themselves are carbon neutral. And lastly, but not least, it's very important also that these elements are communicated to the consumer. So in this slide, I have chosen here as a representative for a front of pack labeling system, the Nutri-Score system. This Nutri-Score system ranks products from the healthiest A to the least healthy E, so from green to red, from A to E. And these systems are now on pack of products and has been adopted in several countries in Europe. So this really guides the consumer to make healthier choices. Additionally, this can be complemented by communications that we're going to see more and more in the future as it relates to the environmental footprint a product can have also on pack. Beyond the product itself, action is required truly from farm to fork. And here, starting in the agricultural side, we need to make sure that more carbon will be absorbed through soil management, to land restoration, and for halting the deforestation. We need also to make sure that we continue and accelerate efforts to reduce food loss and waste by reducing the waste during the production, but also at consumption. And we need definitely to continue also to work towards sustainable packaging by really tapping into the different routes, definitely into reducing packaging, but ensuring that the packaging and that the product that is actually still safe and has a high quality. And then also the routes from reuse and recycle. All of that requires really collective action and a collaboration between academia, NGOs, suppliers, industry, because the problem is of a size that it cannot be tackled by one party alone. Let me come back now to the malnutrition elements that we need to tackle with our sustainable healthy diets. And let me acknowledge that still almost 2 billion people in the world suffer from micronutrient deficiencies. This also requires a significant effort because also many consumers, they rely nowadays on affordable products, a situation that is still will further aggravate through the COVID pandemic. So affordable nutrition truly is something that is more relevant and more important than ever. And a diversified diet can and should normally deliver all the nutrients that we require. However, as we have seen in the previous slides, this is not always happening. So consequently, we need to continue with our efforts to fortify products, and micronutrient fortification of products has been truly shown as an efficient and cost-effective measure to reduce the risk of deficiencies. And this is in line with local eating habits. We need also to look at protein specifically. We have a big challenge because the protein demand is actually increasing, while protein also has a high burden on the environment. So consequently, we need to innovate products that use affordable, high-quality, plant-based protein sources to contribute to closing that protein gap. Here again, I want to emphasize that we need to have collective actions that allow truly a success here to deliver sustainable healthy diets, and a collaboration with all parties, including academia, NGOs, health authorities, as well as industry and civil society. Thank you very much for listening.